Good?
Yep.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Bert.
Approval of agenda changes and additions. I would like to move items 7 and 8, financial reports and payments of bills, to right after the consent agenda. Otherwise, are there any other changes, additions, Jamie?
Just those two highlighted, or three, I should say.
Oh, whoops.
One in oh.
I just brought my paper home. So the addition of item N under the consent agenda, consider accepting the resignation of Scott Koenig as boys basketball head coach. Addition under item 10 G, consider approval of the 21-22 resolution for membership in the MSHSL. Item H, consider approving the addition of 1 full-time para and a half-time para. All right, so those are the additions. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with additions?
I'll make a motion.
Krista, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Carl, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes. Consider the approval of the minutes of school board meeting from May 19th, 2021.
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes.
Carl, is there a second?
Second.
Dave, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make the motion.
Carl, is there a second?
Second.
Krista, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Financial reports. Bradley.
All right, that's the agenda. Let's switch here. Okay, we got our monthly financials here. This is through May 31st. So we're running out of calendar for a fiscal year. So good things happening as we're getting towards the end. Our revenue percentages are slightly better than they've been in previous Mays, just a couple percent ahead. One thing I'll point out, state revenues, which is our biggest line, we're shooting for 90% by June 30th. So we're right on target for that, being about 85% right now. So looking at our expenditures, for the most part, those have lined right up now with our revised budget being in place. So nothing really significant to speak of there. It's nice after do that budget revision that all those things that we hadn't exactly planned on doing when we did the budget in the first place, all of a sudden we got them in the budget and we know about it. So makes things fly just a little bit better. All right, then here's our other funds. Yeah, food service, of course, struggling a little bit, continuing. I was actually encouraged looking at breakfast revenues, the number of meals we served. So I'm hoping that some of the changes that we made in serving breakfast this year is something we can carry on into next year and really boost breakfast a little bit. So probably putting the meals in the kids' hands makes a big difference. But that's been encouraging, looking at the number of meals served there. Community services also been a tough year there. Lots of programs not happening and still not happening. So we'll look for that to pick up though here in the summer and going forward. Any questions on financials? All right, I'll flip over to treasurer's report here. This time of year tends to be very nice for cash flow. We do get our property tax settlements from the counties in May and June. So we did get some nice cash inflow this month. So our total cash went up about $235,000. So that is very encouraging. Next up is our payments. And let's see what jumps out. There's a decent sized payment here to Austin Public Schools. That included a couple things. As part of our achievement and integration program, we kick in for some programming up there. We also help pay for the coordinator up there, Christy Beckman, who does a lot of work with helping us make sure that we've got the right paperwork in place and that our districts are working together on those things. So we help fund that position out of some of our achievement integration money. Dawn's here. And let's see, page 2. Our Freeborn County Co-op oil bill was a little bigger this month. We actually filled our tank out back twice in the same month, once at the beginning, once at the end. So I'm guessing our June month is going to be really, really small because we won't have to fill that sucker up at all. We got ACT on here for just over $1,000. That's various testing administered to our upperclassmen looking to go on to college. And we will be able to get reimbursed for some of those dollars to the extent that any of the kids that took the test qualify for free and reduced lunches. Haley Ott for $1,500. That's a scholarship recipient. So got that one paid out today. You see a lot of student names on here. I paid out some refunds for folks that had paid in for the DC trip. And I also paid out some refunds for graduating seniors who still had some money left in their lunch accounts. So a number of familiar names are on the report there. And then of course, big one here on the bottom for SMEC, that $100,000, that includes a semi-annual payment to support their bond payment. It includes a quarterly payment for the various staff that we purchase from them, psychologists, speech language, coordinators, directors, deaf hard of hearing, yeah, all of those folks that we share so that we don't have to hire a full-time person for those OTs, PTs. And then also it includes the English language program that they also host. So we are the biggest participant in the English language learner program, even though we're the smallest district. So we pay a pretty good chunk of that. It's about $35,000 for that program, our portion of it. Any questions on any of the bills?
Nope.
All right. Time for a motion.
Oh, sorry. Is there a motion to approve the bills?
I'll make motion.
Krista, is there a second?
I'll second
Dave, all those in favor say aye.
it.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, Bradley.
Yeah.
Good luck tonight.
I've got one more.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I got the budget here. So each year we have to approve a budget prior to June 30th for our upcoming fiscal year. So I've been putting that together, hammering it out, and trying to get everything put together. Is this big enough? Can you guys actually see this?
Yep.
Or is it kind of small because you're all the way across the room?
Kind of small.
You can make
But
it a
it's all
little,
good,
I
don't worry.
can actually see that.
I'm running out of zooming space. I'm at 300%. I'll have to scroll around a little bit. All right, so what you're looking at here, this column here, the July 1st, 2021. This is our fund balances from what our revised budget projected we would have. So this little percentage here, one of the measures that we use in school finance is looking at our unassigned fund balance as a percentage of our annual expenditures. So our revised budget for 2021 projected that we would get all the way up to 16.93%, which is a very nice place for us to be. So we timed the pandemic very well in terms of our finances. Our operating referendum kicked in. There's federal money flying all over the place to help fund us right now. And we honestly saved some money being in distance learning in the different periods of time that we were there. Some of that on utilities, travel, and some staffing. So we actually are coming out looking pretty good. So that's our starting point, is this column here. Biggest piece here is unassigned. So I got to back this down a little bit so you can see some more. But then what we're really approving in terms of the budget here is our revenues and our expenditures. Unlike what you were seeing from me a couple years ago, we're projecting our revenues to exceed our expenditures. So a positive budget, and where we plan on starting the year at about 680,000 of fund balance, that bumps up to 733,000 of fund balance. Included in this number is most of our staffing in the expenditure side. Included in the revenues is our general education aid, and both of those have some question marks in terms of what they will actually cost. So I've done my best to try to guess what might happen. In my email earlier today, I kind of laid out a couple of those assumptions that I had made, but we'll have to wait and see what the legislature ends up doing in terms of what our funding will be for the next 2 years. They're supposed to go into a special session. Actually, they'll be in a special session now, and we're waiting for them to actually pass a budget. If they can't pass a budget in the next 2 weeks, then we'll have a statewide government shutdown, and we'll see a whole bunch of services disappear on a temporary basis. All kinds of state employees will go on furlough. It seems to happen to us probably every 4 or 6 years that they can't get their business done on time. So we'll see if they can get it all pulled together, or if we'll have to wait even longer. The other element is that our teachers are up for negotiations. Their contract expires on June 30th. So they have decided they want to wait until we get to where the state has given us numbers on what our funding will be before they come to the table and start negotiating with what they'd like to do. So I've estimated where I think we'll end up there. No idea whether they'll be right or wrong. So we'll see where that goes. The other big thing going on is federal grants. We've got about $500,000 of new federal money that we've got to figure out how we're going to spend it. I have thrown in some guesses on how I think it might go. A couple of positions that we've talked about. You actually just approved on your consent agenda some additional para positions. Those will be funded through these new federal grants. Also, one of the grants calls for summer field trips. So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to use that. We're just not quite there yet on having a concrete plan in place. So some of those dollars also can extend out a couple more years. So I don't have every penny accounted for in the budget, because we'll be able to spend it in future fiscal years. So I'm going to back this up just a little bit so that you can get a better picture, because I don't think any of you have this printed out. Jamie's probably looking at it on his laptop. But a couple of high points on some of our other bigger fund balance areas. Basic skills here contains a revenue source that we call compensatory revenue. we get a certain number of dollars depending on our free and reduced lunch population. Overall, we're fairly high on that, but we're not as high as we sometimes have been. So we've seen those revenues kind of decline a little bit over the years, but we're still doing okay there. Some of the things that I code there for expenditure wise, I'm now coding our social worker and our school nurse there. Also, I'm coding a chunk of almost all of our teachers when they have a one period out of their day where they're doing a win session. So they're working with students on whatever they need. So that's how I'm showing that we're using that money in our system. Down a couple rows from there is long-term facilities maintenance. We've seen some pretty good improvements there over the last few years as we got our formula fixed. This year we will likely spend a little more money than what we've got coming in, which is okay. We've got that tuck pointing project that we approved last month that I've got budgeted for in there, and that's more than half of what I'm showing for expenditures for long-term facilities maintenance. So it's every now and again we're going to have one of those bigger projects, and it's working out okay for us this time. It's lining up pretty well with what we're bringing in. So it's nice to have that be a positive number as opposed to a negative number where it was a couple years ago. I've got a couple of assigned fund balances here. These are things that we as management and a board can set aside for certain projects. The biggest thing I wanted to point out is assignment for transportation. I don't think that we're going to need that in the next year, which is pretty awesome. But basically, with where we're at from a fund balance standpoint, I've already set aside funds for our next school bus. I don't know. I love you. Can you go play? It's nice to have visitors.
Sorry.
So transportation, we're basically in good shape for the next time we need a school bus. So I'll just leave that sitting there in assigned fund balance until such a time as we need to get our next one. So hopefully that'll be maybe another 2 years or 3 years before the next one comes around. Looking at our other funds, our food service fund does include a transfer to bring it up to 0. We're required to do that every couple of years, and we are due for it in fiscal year 22. So the amount of the transfer that I'm estimating is about 36,000 this time, which you may not remember last time, but it was about 50,000 last time. So we may end up a little bit better. Part of that is because I've been able to move part of our food service salaries and charge them against some of these federal grants. So we've been able to kind of relieve that just a little bit at a time when our revenues have been down. So then looking at community service, we should be pretty well back to normal for our community service fund. The biggest thing that had changed here in fiscal 21 is we were running Cubs Club. I don't have anything budgeted to keep running that in the next school year. But I guess if for some reason we end up in a distance learning scenario, we might be required to start that up again on the fly, but we'll take that as it comes. Then we have our debt service. We're required to levy 105% of what our debt service payments will be. In addition to that, or as part of that, we do have a very large tax credit that comes in that helps relieve the burden on the taxpayers. We have to still levy the same amount, but it ends up that our taxpayers don't have to pay it. So one thing that I don't have in this budget, but you'll see in coming months, we're looking to refund those bonds later this year. So we'll actually issue a new bond, pay off our existing bonds, and obtain a better interest rate and save some money in future years. So that's all coming down the pipe. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Anybody? No?
I'll make a
Nope.
motion
Oh,
to
sorry.
approve.
Krista?
That's kind of where we're at.
Yep, sorry about that.
No, I have no questions.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Carl, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, opposed? All right. Now, thank you, Bradley.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Have a good night. All right, we will go to community reports. A, highlights and recognitions.
So it's a work in progress, but I wanted to highlight Gary Myers and the team that he's assembled, volunteers who are working on the ball diamond. So I know they started last week and I don't know when they're,
I think it's this Friday they're bringing, I think they're bringing it in.
so I just wanted to express our appreciation to him and the team for their work on that. So
Are they good for workers as far as you know, or
It's.
need help?
If you have it, I think they're gonna use skid loaders that kind of move the dirt around and we didn't have to take much, we didn't take anything out.
Okay,
We kind of messed around with it a little bit and decided that it's fine. So we just cut the sod out where we wanted and
just to extend it and.
Yeah.
Awesome.
so. It's probably not gonna be quite as bad as. I don't think they'll need as much. Cause I'm not taking any out.
Yeah,
So.
that was Dave.
good. All right. Public comments. Did you have anyone
No one.
contact you? No? School board committee updates, negotiations,
not-
nope. Legacy. No meeting there, but we did award our scholarships to our graduates, so that's the most recent thing that we did there. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Community ed.
Anything?
Nothing. Finance,
You guys have nothing?
LPAC.
Meeting set for next week.
No.
Mainly the coaches discussion.
Facilities,
Did not meet this month.
policy.
We have not met, I don't know if, do we need to continue that? Because I've kind of
Okay.
done it and I send it out to you guys in due time. So
Yeah,
are you guys comfortable with just
Yes.
dropping
Yeah.
that one?
you're the
Okay.
policy.
We were?
There's another word I was
Wonk.
thinking, but. But yeah, I think when we
Good.
did it, I think it's because we didn't have any.
Yeah.
One that was, so I don't think we need that
Yeah.
committee. I hope I was.
I
on
get
that.
plenty of other, I don't think so. Nice try. I get plenty of input from staff and you
Right,
guys as
I
well. so.
don't,
Strategic plan.
No.
Nothing,
No.
no.
sorry, I was breathing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you acted like you wanted to add something
No, I
there.
didn't.
Library committee.
We have not met. either.
So, Teresa Swinsky, is she like a librarian then?
She will be the,
Like Diane?
yeah, like Diane, but
But-
minus the tech stuff. So she's gonna be helping Corey with the DAC stuff,
Okay,
giving her assessment,
Right.
and Jamie Donaldson as
Yeah.
well.
that's like the,
Things that take forever that need to get done, but
So really more librarian than having to deal with the tedious.
fit,
Yes,
Mhm.
yep,
okay,
yep. Pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
the grunt, the kind of the grunt work stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
she'll be great.
And it'll also being in here if students need to come in and do research or they need to come in and do a, just need a quiet place to work.
So,
Like it's kind of a study hall in a sense.
um,
They can come in here.
I know you
Yeah.
said last year that, or not maybe last year, kids from post-secondary would come here. Is that kind of?
Yep. So she'll be in here kind of to supervise those kids as
Okay.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
SMEC board.
I have a board meeting the 30th. I think Jamie emailed the agenda.
Mhm.
It was just an update on the monthly report from Dan.
Yeah,
So
I like that there's Zoom. I hope we continue that. So I don't have to drive there.
it's even worse for the other ones.
Yeah, it's not a big.
We're a closer one.
Well, do you think they'll be able to do Zoom from that? Or do you think they'll have to? Because of,
I think they'll make it an option.
I don't
You
know.
can't
Yeah.
make it in person.
well, because I think I'm gonna be at a ball game, so I was just like gonna put my, sit there and,
Listen.
yeah,
So, and I know they are working on the negotiations
yeah. Like-
for Dan, Denise, and Mary, I think. is
I
her
think they
name.
have a couple soups
Yep.
ahead of that, and then some board members that wanted to be on it for some reason.
You didn't want.
No.
All right, reports, presentations, Jamie?
Oh, that's jumping to me. All right. So a couple of things. So asked Heather to kind of update on the enrollment, and I think that's in your packet. And so the number right now, just to from at the bottom, the K-12 number, it is a bit lower than what we had at the end of the year. Partly is because we graduated 23 students and currently only have 8 kindergarten. So what you do is you always look at, you're losing the seniors and you're bringing in the incoming.
So has that always been?
That's a much lower number.
Why do we have 8 kindergarten?
There's a couple of them that are going to, that
Yeah.
currently are placed in the TK, the transitions. So I know Corey's gonna talk to Julie and review that.
Well, we have some that
we're
are
also-
in the TK right now that are actually, we were able to put them in TK, but their home school is in a different district. The other district didn't have room for them, so we provided a place for them for the year, but they will not be returning because their home district is elsewhere.
We're also going to put on Facebook that have open registration, kind of market it as much as we can too.
It is-
So that number obviously is much lower
Yeah,
than what
that's
we
just a
would,
huge difference
yeah.
from all the other
It,
classes.
because what was the?
honestly,
the
I'm not
22?
panicking, it's going to go up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's- see, we're just
Yeah.
astounded. like,
We're just not
Yeah,
used to that
right.
number.
Really?
Well, I
Right.
mean, if it was like 16, I'm not freaking, but 8,
Right.
it's like,
Yeah,
did we
just-
have a small preschool class or?
But I'm
We
wondering
have-
if they're not advancing because they didn't master any of those skills to be able to.
And that's what we need to look
get
at.
into
Yeah.
kindergarten. That if they're not meeting.
Yeah,
Is
so basically what we want right now is if we were to advance all those kids, the number would be higher. But is that the right thing to do for those kids? So we're going to put out there right now that we have openings for kindergarten and see if naturally we can increase it. Otherwise, probably beginning of August, we're going to look at that group of TK kids and see which ones can we put in kindergarten. Because otherwise you would have, I mean, looking at the classroom, your gap would be like this.
Yes.
Academically,
Well, I understand that, but
Yeah.
you don't want the next class to have 35 in it,
right, right.
so you have a class of 10 and then the 30 is just.
Yeah.
that would
Right,
be-
yeah,
Which is kind of what we're experiencing right now. If you look, so 5th through 12th grade, all above 20,
Yeah.
Very
which
good
is
numbers.
very good. 6th grade is at a very close pivotal point. If
Mhm.
right.
we talked
that
a
the
couple
big
years
class?
ago, we
Yeah.
said 30 was, that's the class that we
Yeah.
split a couple years ago.
Okay.
Um,
But
we
as
have
they
all,
get bigger though,
well, there's a couple options that we're considering. So one is, I think it was maybe 3 years ago, we had that discussion with the teachers and they felt 30 was the good number. So that's kind of, it wasn't a board resolution. It was just kind of like, this is what we'd consider it, splitting at that point, but splitting 6th grade. What are other options? Could we do something? Could we incorporate a middle school with it? So it's all, we just know that there's a couple of kids that are considering moving in. That's where you see the 3.
Mhm.
And we're not even in July yet. So
Exactly,
we usually,
right.
it's
late
the one
August,
that
we
needs
start
it,
getting
it's
some.
always the
Right.
ones that-
we'll keep you up to know on that.
So you're not too panicked about kindergarten like I am right now?
No,
Well, I had the same reaction. I'll admit that.
I'm just
It was
like, where's
whoa,
this?
so,
This seems
but-
like out of the blue to me, I guess, is why I'm like, because I thought our preschool program was like packed and
But
What's
because
your
of-
retention rate from this year's preschool that's coming back?
that's what we just talked about.
yeah,
That's what we're talking
Why
about.
they're in TK.
Yeah.
So,
The
But
trick-
how many kids did you lose that are going elsewhere?
that I don't know.
No.
I know, two
Like
for
one
sure.
family, they moved and they were wondering how far our busing reach was.
We
They
did
were
look at
happy
that
to-
and it wasn't,
Yeah.
we didn't go far enough.
Is that cash?
Well, we can't say names.
Not, not to lay up, it's cash.
Can't say names.
So, But we'll keep, we'll continue to
But
review
they're out of
it.
our district.
They're
I
out,
mean,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So I emailed you guys, what, a week ago or two on this, with, I put land dispute. It's not a land dispute. So we have that land that's, okay, behind us here.
I thought.
So I
took care of it.
contacted Moore County. And basically what I have found out is that that has been under another group's another organization's ownership since at least 71.
Okay, keep going.
So the city has no records. That's all the Moore County. I believe Jerry and the Rushtar did look into it at that time. So Bradley and I, in our discussion and him talking me through it a little bit in my discussion based on the conversation with this gentleman, that he's kind of looking there. There is some delinquent taxes on that small parcel. Obviously, the sign is on it. I looked this morning, there's a few trees on there. I don't know if we planted them, assuming we did. We've been cutting it for years. They want to take it off their books. So does that, so I think part of it is a generosity to say, hey, we're willing to negotiate something with the school district, or we may sell it to another company, and we certainly do not want to put a billboard or have a billboard sitting there. Because I think the majority of the community thinks that is our land.
Mhm.
I could have swore we took care of this.
That's,
when
I
we-
agree with you. That's the same thing I said too, Carl. Because
Because
I am certain when that
Right.
sign was put up,
it got
that
taken care of.
it did. And because Precision Signs, I remember they
Well,
checked on that
when we-
before even installing
when
the
we built
sign.
the school and then when we did the
Well, I
sign.
talked to Jeff
Yes.
about the
Yep.
sign. He goes, Precision, that would have not been their responsibility.
No, I know, but-
But we had that discussion about it.
I thought we did some sort of
I know.
quick deed to put it, it was our.
Do you
like
know
we did
when was
I
the
know.
sign put in? Because I can look in.
Not the sign, I'm talking like when the school was built, so 2006.
Okay. I can review the board,
Yeah.
what, I don't know. What's,
I know.
we,
Swore that should have been taken care of.
That's-
Yeah. well, that's what I asked the
said.
city. I
Whether
asked the
it
county,
did
I
or
go,
not,
I know.
does it
Jerry-
seem odd that we
feel
would have
like
had
there
all
was-
these improvements on and
I
not?
know.
And they're like,
No, because it's a weird.
they didn't really have an answer
Like the
because
football field, the old
why did they
football
suddenly
scoreboard was
care?
on that chunk.
Right.
the county does it. It's the company who
Why does
owns
that
it.
company suddenly care?
I think they're
They-
looking to part ways from it.
Because they don't want to pay taxes on
Yeah.
it, correct?
Mhm.
I'm guessing, since
Well,
it's
why don't they
delinquent.
just give it to us?
Well, that's, so Bradley and I are going to make contact with him. I want him on that one, so
It's literally can't.
I know what
how much-
questions,
It's
so you
not
can-
very much, right?
no, it's 0.09 acres and 0.23. So we're talking a third of an acre.
They had it too until they got a delinquent notice on their tax.
I would guess,
That could be.
I could have
Now
swore
we know about it.
we took
Yeah.
care of that when we built the school, because it came up, because they, did a,
I know.
You would have thought that would, because they would have been notified.
Business manager.
Of-
MinDOT
Responsibility.
review, you would have thought.
Well,
that's
the
good.
MinDOT,
well, yeah, did
ironically,
we saw.
the
they did
MinDOT
that.
actually is south of here. So when
Oh.
Wow.
I think I may have been the only one, but I asked that question when you look on I never knew this was the Moore County GIS, just if you Google that, you'll see a very skinny parcel of land that's MinDOT. But that's much south of here, which
But wouldn't it have been evaluated
You
like the
think-
whole strip of
Yep.
everything?
you
Well,
would have thought,
I know.
That's
you would
when-
think so.
Wow.
so.
I don't know. I could have, we're talking, that's a long time ago. now.
So,
So yeah, where
I
are
don't
you-
know,
I
I don't know if we
I
need
just
to,
thought We took
the-
care of it when we.
the county
We should talk about
suggested
Wow.
at least I reach out
I
to the
don't do it
lawyer,
like that.
our lawyer,
That's
and
pretty
just
low.
say, you know,
Yeah,
so I obviously I hate doing that, you know, just from a financial standpoint, but it might be worth the time to contact them, and Bradley and I can meet with them and just see, and then we can move forward. So I'll keep you up to date on that. So as info on GPA, so today I did a honor roll. We had 68 students, 6 through 12 made the honor roll fourth quarter. That's about 45%. 34 of them made the A honor roll, and 34, so split right down the middle, made the B. We do those gold pins and silver pins, so those will be the first week of school. We're planning, we'll give certificates and those pins then. And then GPA, if you remember, I keep track of that for our programs, for the athletic programs. Track had a 3.54. Baseball had a 3.51. If you saw the actual GPAs of the baseball team, you would be quite impressed that there were many highs. I think well over half, probably 3/4 of the team will make a all conference academic.
oh,
It was very impressive from the
good
baseball
for
team.
them.
Softball 2.99 and trap 3.31. So
Very good.
still good numbers considering everything the kids went through. So good job to the kids. Summer cleaning is moving along. Obviously we're with next week being the reunion and tours over the weekend. We're being very in our discussion with Joel and Tarek and Dwayne, being strategic on where things are, you know, what's clean and some priorities. We just, if you walked in, you may have seen the flag poles
Mhm.
right on top next to the clock. So
Right.
we will have, that's where the US flag and they look really, it looks really
That'll
sharp
look-
when
that'll
it's
look
up there.
nice.
So hopefully the LP flag is in our possession by next week.
They did get ordered.
And the last thing, last week, Corey and I attended the admin council retreat with the rest of the SMAC admin team. The highlight initially was the fact that it was the first time in a year and a half that we were together and just you could feel the impact that just being together in the same room had versus a Zoom meeting. I think every one of us can relate to that. We went over legal updates, some new things that have come down from Supreme Court cases and things like that. We got a tour of the Winona State. It was at Winona, and I was overly impressed with what Winona State is doing to train teachers, future teachers. It was quite impressive, and we had a good conversation with the dean and what they're going to do in working with SMAC. He's stated he was very open to working with SMAC on teacher development, bringing student teachers in here, working with them. So it's pretty exciting. And then we just worked on, setting some goals as a team, some targets. We developed some new norms. We even adjusted our monthly meetings, some times and how often, because obviously Corey and I don't like being out of the building. But we feel it is important that we go. So we worked with so that it's more meaningful that concise to when we're meeting as a team. So that is my report. Any questions? All right,
Thank
Corey?
So if you're following along on some of the social media, we have our E3 program, which is the first time we've ever been involved in it. And I was able to go over there this morning and hang out with the kids and see them in action. It was really fun. The teachers were super jazzed, as I knew they would be. I don't know if you talked to Paxton at all yet after yesterday. Did you get to talk? Was he excited? Yeah. They said they loved it today when I was there. So I know today, one of them right away, a very excited female said, okay, so we have 2 really big projects that we're working on today. We are learning all about some dome science term thing, the greenhouse effect, I think is what it was. And they were making a greenhouse effect so that they could measure it and study it and learn it. And then they were also making structures that would withstand hurricane winds. So they're very jazzed about that. So that's really exciting. We have E3, we have Spec Academy that's going. We have credit recovery that's going, and then Hush Fitness for any of our students. The ones who have taken advantage are the athletes who are using Hush Fitness. I'm actually working, Bright Specker, the one who runs it, is a personal friend of mine, so I was asking him if he could get me some pictures.
Kids are loving it.
Good.
Yeah, they are.
He's,
Yeah.
that's his, like, that is his jam. That is what he was made to do in his life. And so for the fact that our students are able to work with him,
Oh, definitely.
and I honestly wonder, like, if there's some sort of partnership with him we can make all year long, because that's what he loves to do. So,
Yeah, and then they've made a little adjustment on scheduling.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're not doing the late, are we doing a late shuttle?
No,
Uh-uh.
no, and that, because
mean-
we were doing the late shuttle, majority of the kids went in the morning, but because the numbers were so low, he was willing to say, hey, you can come
Just
other
with-
times with other classes, so it
Oh.
worked out really well.
yeah.
Oh,
He's very accommodating,
Mhm.
so, but I think the bus is pretty full, right, for the morning one?
about 18 kids that
Mm.
are scheduled.
They just get on.
It flexes a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, that is so we've been doing this for a few years. This is, I hope we
Yeah.
can do this for a long time,
I hope so too.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's about
And-
core strength, not bulk strength.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I
And I
literally
think
did
it
like,
will just grow in popularity because there were a lot of people that were a little just
Mhm.
hesitant this
Right,
year.
something new.
Something new. They
Things
didn't,
are scary,
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
I don't know that,
right. But now I think they're hearing a lot of the chatter
Yeah.
and feedback from the
which
other
would be
kids.
great if
or-
we could keep it somehow year long.
Yeah,
I don't know how,
it's
but
very
I
nice.
know it's time.
it is.
What I think is nice, it's at 9, so it's not the crack of dawn.
Yep.
So, kids don't feel like they, when it's at 7 o'clock, kids like, man, I gotta get up at 7 o'clock.
And we've talked also about having someone at the end of the day during the school day
Yeah,
that for even if it's only a half an hour, can do
Yeah.
something in the gym and.
yeah, I know.
The other thing
Sorry,
I've been
go ahead.
spending a ton of time doing right now is looking at curriculum. So a long, long time ago, many previous DACs ago, there was a curriculum pacing guide. And I came across it today. I won't tell you the year that it was started. So I'm really trying hard to work with Bradley and go back in the books to see when different curriculum was purchased so that we could actually
Mhm.
have a cycle and say, oh, this year we're researching for this subject and we are purchasing for this subject and we're reviewing this subject. So that's my goal. We'll see. Carl watched me and ran into me the other day out at the garbage can. I think he about gave him a heart attack because I'm also throwing away a bunch of stuff.
It's very
Things-
frustrating.
Yeah, there was a particular graduating senior who, the last one to use a particular book was in 2011. That was when he was in 3rd grade. Hasn't been used since. But we just held on to it. We have something else in place. Something else, everything was just held on to.
Yeah,
We don't need to hold on to stuff. We need to
Yeah.
make room. So out with the
Yep.
old, that's what I'm doing.
I know.
I like to throw things, that's what I'm doing. No one's gonna buy it, I already looked into it.
no, yeah, that
already
stuff
looked
is,
into it.
yeah,
It's fine, it's just,
yeah.
Yep. So, something Bradley, I know Bradley's gonna go back and watch this video. So Bradley, when you watch this, I expect an email that you watch this. The refund he was talking about ACTs, that was submitted. I submitted that in MDE, so I have no idea how long that takes. And if I did it correctly, I guess we're gonna find out if we get a check. So. We're looking in the achievement and integration grant is starting up a robotics team. So I know I started mentioning it last year. We do not have a lot of staff members right now who are interested. I have one that I'm working with and I think he'll be great. So it's just a matter of trying to figure out, this is not the Vex robotics competition that you see all over.
Okay.
You have to start small. I would rather start small than start big and fail. So start small with getting interest in robotics, building it, and then maybe in a couple years, we could do a Vex robotics team where you actually compete and go on and compete.
Okay.
So, and then I saw yesterday that our track team members, I don't know if any of you saw this, but our
Yeah.
track team members got to go to the championships. So that was, I don't know how all of them did, but I thought that was really cool because February, I believe, is when this was approved and we already had kids at the championships.
Yeah, that was
So,
really neat to
yeah.
see. Yeah,
Yeah,
From what I saw.
it
Yeah.
looked like they did. And
Yeah.
from the parents I've talked to, they've said, this has been so wonderful for my child.
yeah,
So I love that we added it.
good.
That's what I have.
That's great to see. Thank you, Corey.
Oh, I do have one more thing, I'm sorry. I have a request for you and then the other two. So when we do, I'm telling you now, I'm gonna tell you in July, and I'm telling you in August. When we do back to school photos for staff, I am requesting school board members also have back to school photos. So that we have a nice professional photo of you. Instead of a Cordon Cray cell phone photo.
We reviewed the yearbook today and we need board members. on
Yeah.
here, so.
We would like you in the yearbook. So I'm giving you a heads up
Advance
now.
notice, okay.
I have a.
So if you
picture.
wanted, when, I don't know, sometime whenever registration night is, I think it's the 17th of August. You come dressed in
come
your
get our
suit and tie,
pictures.
guys, and,
Or Zoom apparel, nice on top. So,
Right.
yeah, there you go.
that's right.
All right. Items for action discussion. A, consider approval of 21-22 adopted budget.
We did that.
We
We
did.
already
I think
did
so, yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay. Item B, consider and discuss options for the MSHSL COVID fee.
Maybe it's time to put this one to rest. So, of course, the State High School League has adopted the new payment format. We kind of got what we wanted. There is a, per pupil fee. Of course, that's the smallest part of the structure, but at least everything else, the other two categories, we will pay the same amount in priority to Wayzata and Minnetonka. Okay, and then they will also pay the same amount in priority, in comparison per pupil. So it's so it is probably, I never saw the Star Tribune article. I don't know, did it ever come out? Did
I
it-
never saw
I never
it.
saw it either.
You would think someone would have.
So
I know.
maybe because of the changes, they went away. I don't know, but I guess I'm in the part that we've waited this long. If we don't pay it, we're gonna be billed in August, September anyway, so with your blessing, I guess, I would like to go ahead and.
Kingsley be mad at you.
No, because we held out as long as they did, at least to this point. Yeah.
Um,
Everybody else in SMAC paid except us and Kingsland. So.
so why are we making a new application?
Well, that'll be different. That's an annual. You're looking at the resolution, that's the annual.
Oh,
It's just a different format.
okay.
And then I did that all, and then I realized you have to do it online anyway. So it's great, but
All right.
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I don't know if we need
Do we need
to,
to make a motion to pay it,
Well,
or do we, I
Didn't,
mean, we can. We can,
it probably wouldn't hurt just to.
okay. Is
you
there a
can
motion?
wait though a little bit if you want. Wait till you have to.
Well, the interest rates aren't great, Carl, so I don't think we're making a lot of money. We maybe bought it, had enough to buy a, 12 pack of Coke.
I know. I don't, I'm just, I'll make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Krista, all those in favor say aye. Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Item C, consider approval of contingency fee agreement with Quinn Levin and Hughes PA France Law Group APLC for representation in National School District lawsuit against Jewel Labs Incorporated.
So if there's anything, Corey, that I don't miss, because last week when the lawyer talked with us, I asked this question about what her input on this. So basically got a letter and an email from Quinn Livin. I got scared because I live in St. Cloud and saw this. I'm like, oh gosh, what did I do now? But open it up, didn't really know much. I should send it to Bradley. He said, let's go ask some questions. So basically it is a national lawsuit against Juul and Altria, who are the main developers of vaping materials. And so because they have marketed over the years to children, it is a national lawsuit that across all 50 states, and Quinn Livin and Group, they are the Minnesota representatives for it. So what they're looking for is schools to jump on board with this national lawsuit. If there is what was her name? Laura said, she said, if there is a payment, she said, there is no harm in joining this. She said, if they end up doing a payment, do not expect it to be like the tobacco one from a couple of years ago, or like 15 years ago where the state got a bunch load of money. This is gonna be more of, if we do, it's gonna be more of, okay, schools will need to put in a sensor in the bathrooms to notify if
Right.
someone's
Yeah.
smoking. So there's no fee of this. It's just.
They'll just purchase equipment like that. to
Well,
put in
they-
schools, or-
They would probably, if it
Reimburse
goes
us,
through,
or-
who knows what the judge what it'll end up, if it's a jury or whatever, I would assume they are just going to say this is awarded to these schools. Everybody, you'll get this much money and it has to be used towards this.
Okay,
Printing was more at Tubbs booth.
Yep.
The lawyer.
okay.
So,
Did they have kind of an idea on a time frame that this might?
oh, this could take
or years?
years probably. And there is another packet that I would have to go through and fill out. It's just these are the issues we've had. We've been very fortunate. I'm not gonna, there is of that, it goes on. But we have caught a few kids with it. We have, just to say we've caught 100% would be a lie. So, it is something I know that educationally we need, we honestly, as adults, we probably thought it was 5 years ago, we were on the right track for, reducing tobacco smoking and everything. And this just took its place. So.
All right,
So if you have more questions, if you want me to seek out more questions or stay away from it, I'm open either way. I just wanted to bring it. I don't know who did I talk to that was taking part in it. You remember? I'm trying to think. There was a school
the other
that
districts?
there's one of the
Was it at
schools.
Snack Academy? Was it a snack school?
No, I talked to someone and they said they were part. I'm drawing a blank on what school that was. But there are some schools that are taking part in this that jumping on board.
okay.
So. And Bradley was comfortable with it when he's obviously more in tune with the legal terms in the point, so in the documentation, so it looked like it was fine.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve moving forward with this?
I'll make the motion.
Carl, is there a second?
I can second it.
Krista, all those in favor, say aye. Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Item D, consider and discuss safe return to in-person learning plan.
So this is in part of the large grant that we are getting from the federal government. And so in order to do it, there's a couple of steps and possibly even some hoops that we have to jump through it. And this is the first step. So we had to have by Monday, actually, we have to have our plan updated, as well as any comments that were made, the public comments provided, or a summary of that. So last week I put it out to on Facebook. I put it on our website. I've had some struggles sending it out via email through our system, but I'm gonna keep trying on that and have Heather help me out with that too. But basically just looking for some input. The plan itself, and I'm not going to go through it tonight just because it's pretty straightforward. If you think back to every plan that Corey and I have brought forward and over the year, it's primarily that. It is how we're going to clean, what we're going to do on our buses. Some of the comments that already have come forward, one was the masks on the bus, and they're legitimate questions of, so they have to wear masks on a bus, but they get out the bus and they walk in the building and don't have to wear it. Currently, the masks it's a federal requirement right now on any school buses, planes. So maybe that'll change over the summer and the fall. We don't know. So that will be a requirement. I know that'll be something I'll have to in the plan. I'll have to update or provide more information. The other thing is just on questions that I've noticed about the air quality We put the ionization system in several of the classrooms, so that is, seems to be helping, and also the cleaning process. So it's on our website. It is for comment, the plan itself, and then there's another thing where they can go on and put together, share their comments. Yep.
So, a little nerd moment, but, so is there a way that, have we analyzed, so we've improved the air quality in certain rooms, but then not treated other rooms? Have we done any sort of, or is there a way to figure out, is it really worthwhile? Should we continue advancing it? Is this a really good thing? Like, has it made such a great difference with allergens and pollen and everything, and just bacteria and whatever?
I don't think there's any way definitively we could do that,
Like a funky swap test? or
but,
something?
well,
Sorry.
maybe maybe our science teacher could, but Barb,
It's kind of fun when you
It
swap
is.
things and see what grows.
though, I think Southland put the same system in. They put it in, obviously they had the new building, so they were able to put it in. Considering the fact, and the priority was given to the elementary just because at that time they were in the building. And we actually had a very good year as far as the health of those students in there. So did that contribute? We don't know.
Problem is we're wearing masks, we're washing
I
our
know.
hands way more than we,
Yep,
and the door handles are getting,
Cleaning.
Yep.
you know, that,
several times a day. I mean, it's just hard to,
when we quit wearing masks, is that gonna change? I'm assuming the door handle thing will,
I hope it stays.
I mean, I would guess we probably don't need to
High
do
touch
it
surfaces, they're nasty.
18 times a day like we are, but morning,
there's certain times of the day that,
yeah,
obviously touching all, as after, 9 o'clock when everyone's in the building, things like that. We
I
were
would,
doing that anyway,
there's
but
just the whole mask thing, this is the healthiest I've ever been. I didn't get a cold this year, so I don't know. I think the mask thing will be the.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and-
For uppers versus lowers, lowers aren't even afforded the opportunity to be vaccinated yet,
right.
whereas your uppers are.
Mhm.
Whether they are or not, but
Yeah.
they've at least been afforded that. How do you do that mix? It'd be interesting.
And we have, that is a consideration. Do we extend that through the year? But if you remember, I think it was 120,000 just for that school-wide, building-wide. And we only spent, what was it, 40 something on 9 of the 25 units. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty big investment to put in
I'm not
when you
saying that
don't
that's-
know, it's a valid question that you're asking.
Right.
It's a lot to spend for,
We don't know.
I'm not
It's hard to
necessarily, I'm not
pinpoint it.
saying, should we put this?
I know,
everywhere?
I know.
Mhm.
I'm just saying,
More
curiosity,
effective.
how does it work? Does it work really good?
Yeah.
Is it
I
really
think we
better
did the
than what
right
you've been
classes
through?
though, the
Yeah,
element,
absolutely,
in here actually too. I mean,
Yeah.
so.
absolutely.
You can come swab anything you want.
Well, I'm not saying I want to. I always find that kind of stuff interesting. Look at the gross stuff we're gonna grow. You touch this here, and then you touch that there. Sorry. I
So-
like those classes.
Do summer project.
No, I haven't.
There we go. Community ed. There we go. So
No, just get some info.
just looking, so again, looking for input. After this, there will probably be some more things of, like Bradley said, it's a significant amount of money that we will have available to us. And obviously some of it will go towards, they call it learning loss. Corey and I do not like that term just because they just haven't learned it yet. I hate the term, but, and other things will be, it's a significant amount of money and we already looking at how we can, do it. But at the same time, we don't want to get to the point where 3 years from now, we're having a budget cut because we spent this and now we can't do anything with it. So, or can't sustain it. So all the people watching tonight. So, okay,
Item E, consider approval of district policy 506, student discipline.
yep. So the next two policies, annual policies, there isn't any changes to either of them. The one thing I will say that if there are discussions specifically to student discipline in talks with that's staff leadership. They have talked about, some things that we need to focus on, and one of them is we're gonna implement after-school detention. So if there are issues with students that, I will say this, in my years as an administration, you see the only true way to there's two ways to make a change in behaviors. One, you make a connection with those kids. Number two, you inconvenience parents, and I hate to say that, but that is a very effective way. So if they have to come and get their kid because their kid has been rude in the classroom, then they easily become an ally with what we're doing. With that, we're also looking at other means, what can we do to help with that? Increasing communication with our parents. So if there's an issue, long before it ever gets to Corey and I, staff making phone calls to parents, so that parents are not, we don't like it when we call a parent and we've had issues for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And the parent's like,
Then
I
what,
have
right?
never heard anything
Yeah.
about this, that,
We shouldn't be the first phone call.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
We shouldn't.
so we're getting creative. We're meeting with the staff member tomorrow, just committee to discuss those options with the discipline. And kind of also help with attendance too, because that, with COVID, that became a very interesting point this year, but again, the policy is pretty straightforward. There's just annual review.
All right. Is there,
I'll make the motion to accept the student discipline policy.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consider approval of policy 514, bullying prohibition policy.
Again, same
Same.
thing.
No
I'll make the
changes.
motion.
Carl, second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item G, consider approval of the 21-22 resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League.
Again, annual report or annual resolution to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To stay in there.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Just, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item H, consider approving the addition of one full-time para and a half-time para.
I'll let
Do
you.
you want me to do it?
Yep.
Okay, so we were just awarded a K3 math reading or math core. So we have reading core and we have math core. But in order to receive that approval, you have to have a coach. We found out Jamie Donaldson can coach both math and reading at the same time. But as you know, she also does title and she also does all of our fast bridge. So we actually sat down with Jamie, talked about restructuring her position. She is unbelievably talented when it comes to reviewing data, getting students where they need to be, finding out what work they need. So what we're actually restructuring her position of is pulling her a little bit away from some students. She'll still work with students, but not as often. We're not going to have to be coming to the board requesting more money for her in the middle of the year anymore. But what we want is, we have a title math position already. We would like to add one more so we can have a title reading position for a para. That's what that will be. So the reading para will work all day long pulling reading, and the math will work all day long pulling math. And that will be the area that they pull and work on. The part-time para would just be during some academic hours only. And I'm not talking later in the day, I'm talking just a solid few hours in the day, and they'll be doing probably more so reading, but math as needed as well. So, Jamie mentioned earlier, we don't like the term learning loss. It's the things that they weren't taught yet. So we want to hire more paras so that we can fill in some of these gaps that we're missing.
Yeah.
So what age groups are they gonna be working with?
Right now, we're looking at elementary, but we would love to pull in. So we know that we need some intervention in our middle school especially.
Okay.
And as posted on the website for our middle school position, there will be 1, maybe 2 hours that will be an intervention hour with that teacher, a licensed teacher doing it as well. So we're really trying to focus in and get some interventions in the upper grades as well.
And for financial, the grant would help us. There's was it 10 or 20?
For
A certain amount of the grant that we're
Oh,
getting
yeah.
has to be towards learning loss, and this
Yeah.
would be kind of those areas where
Mhm.
we know that we have to increase. across the board, but if we can hone in on some of in the elementary, the reading things, that will pay off dividends for years to come when they get older.
And if you were to take those dollars and hire a full-time teacher, we can't sustain that in 3 years, but
Right.
if you're a position, we could sustain that in the years to come.
And also knowing there isn't a lot of teachers to go around.
Right.
So,
Will we be able to hire someone part-time though?
I think so.
we are confident, yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, never mind.
And from the email that Bradley sent you guys, we may bring this more in the future, but we're obviously, we don't want to have too many, I hate to say this, but too many paras at the beginning of the year. We're being very cautious on,
Mhm.
on when to bring them up. Maybe we won't either, so.
All right, if there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve the addition of one full-time para and a half-time para?
I'll make a motion.
Krista, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Carl, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? School board member comments. Superintendent evaluation, I know I emailed you guys, are you good with doing that in July?
You did?
You
Yeah.
did not.
I got you.
Okay, the same.
I did not.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
you did. Okay, so
Okay,
are
maybe I
you
did,
good
but
with?
I don't remember.
Like a long time ago?
Oh, probably,
A few weeks ago.
yeah,
Oh, then maybe
Two,
I probably
three?
forgot about
Oh.
that by then.
Was it under the gift one?
Yes.
My-
Oh,
yeah, I
I
was in the
didn't
same
yeah.
one, actually.
I thought they did, but. I do that all the time too, I know. So yeah, if you guys are good with moving forward with that
Yeah.
for July, good, okay. Anyone else? Any other comments? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn 7:07.